It's no secret that the United States has basically the worst policies when it comes to maternity leave, but that doesn't mean that you can't afford to spend that quality time with your baby at the beginning of his life. Hi guys, I'm Marissa and welcome back to my channel. I am a first-time expecting mom myself, due with our baby boy in May of 2020. And as my husband and I are preparing for this new season of life, one thing that I've been thinking about and planning for has been maternity leave. Now, we live in the United States and more closely Portland, Oregon. And in the United States, paid maternity leave is not a requirement and not an established benefit. And compared to what the rest of other developed countries in the world are doing for maternity leave, the United States falls very far behind. But I still do plan to take time off from my day job to be able to spend with my baby when he's here. So if you are a working and expecting mom, but you want to be able to take time off to spend with your baby, here are some tips on how you can actually afford and save to do so. First off, let's talk about planning. Now, as soon as you feel comfortable telling your employer that you are expecting, I would sit down with your HR department to figure out what options you may have when it comes to maternity leave. Now, some companies in the United States do have a paid maternity leave, but that's not a nationwide law. Now, as I am preparing to have my baby in May, I will tell you that I do not get any paid maternity leave. The only thing that I get is FMLA. So I know that I can take 12 weeks off from my day job and I will be able to have my job when I come back thanks to FMLA. But you may be surprised if your employer does offer some sort of paid maternity leave. A lot of companies now, especially larger companies, have been offering more work-life balance benefits, which include paid maternity leave. Some companies even offer up to a year's worth of paid maternity leave in the United States, which is crazy and very unheard of. So it never hurts to ask to see if your employer offers paid maternity leave, and also have your husband check with his employer to see if they offer paid paternity leave. For my husband Jacob, he unfortunately does not get any paid paternity leave, but I have had a couple friends who did get a few weeks of fully paid paternity leave, which is another great benefit. If you don't get fully paid maternity leave with your employer, your other options may be FMLA, like we stated, which is unpaid, but guarantees that you can still keep your job even after having 12 weeks off for medical reasons. You can also use up sick and vacation time if you receive any from your employer. And you could use short-term disability. Now, my employer is a little bit smaller, so they don't offer short-term disability, but if your employer does offer short-term disability, definitely check with your HR department to see what may be covered and how much that would be for taking maternity leave. After you talk with your HR department to figure out what your options may be for paid time off, it's now time to figure out how much time off you'll actually be taking. Maybe your employer will allow for more than 12 weeks, maybe you'll have to take less than 12 weeks, but it's important that you figure out how much time you plan to take off once you have the baby. And then also deciding if you're going to go back to work or not. And I know that this is a big decision and maybe one that comes a few months down the road, but definitely something to be thinking about as you're figuring out what your plans are for work post-baby. Now that you may have a plan for how much time you may be taking off, it's important to figure out how much time will be paid and how much will be unpaid. With some employers, a partial of your time may be paid and some maybe not. Now for myself, I will get to use up my sick and vacation time that I've accrued with my employer. And so I've calculated that by the time that May rolls around, I'll have about 5 weeks of paid time off. And that's basically all of the time that I've saved up in my sick and vacation time balances. Now I do intend to still take 12 weeks off. And so with that math, I will have about 7 weeks that will be unpaid. And the next thing you'll want to do is figure out what your budget will look like for that time that you are on maternity leave. Is your budget going to remain the same as it is now, or are you going to go down to kind of like the bare necessities to make it through a time without an additional income? Now for our household budget, we have my husband's day job income, my day job income, and then also my business income. And it's been really nice to have these like 3 sources of income. And so with that, in months right now, as all of those streams of income are still up and running, we've been able to put a good chunk away towards savings goals. But we do recognize that while I'm on maternity leave, we're not really going to be saving because we're going to be just covering the necessities and also maybe a little bit of fun, but not really working on those big financial goals as we are down a little bit of an income. So definitely take some time to look over your budget and even come up with a mock budget of what it may look like if you didn't get paid for those times that you plan to take unpaid time off for maternity leave. And with that, you can figure out if you need to go down to the bare necessities or if you're still able to maintain some sort of a lifestyle. Now, if you're doing this mock budget and you realize that you're not able to cover all of those bare necessities, or if you still want to maintain some sort of a higher lifestyle, then it's time to figure out how much you'll need to supplement this time that you're on maternity leave. To figure out how much you need to save, take that total amount that you are going to need to supplement your budget during that maternity leave and divide it out by how many more months you have until baby arrives. And that's how much that you should be saving each month for maternity leave. And when you are on maternity leave, you'll have money sitting aside, and that will be that extra buffer that you can add to your budget each month to cover those necessary expenses. And I know that just saving money, putting money away sounds easier said than done, but if you are truly wanting to be able to spend time at home with your baby, then there are some sacrifices that you may need to make now to be able to enjoy that time later. And there are a couple ways to do that. First off is to find ways to make additional money, whether that's with a side hustle, you or your spouse can do something to bring in more income for your household. Or you can also find things that you can cut out of your budget and find additional ways to save. Maybe that's reducing your eating out budget. Maybe you're cutting vacations out of your budget for now. That's actually something that we are doing right now, but it's not going on any vacations. We have nothing planned, which makes me very sad, but I know that saving up for our baby fund and covering all of medical expenses and maternity leave is more valuable to us right now than us going on a vacation. Now, it's definitely a bummer that the United States doesn't offer any sort of paid maternity leave, but that doesn't mean that you have to wallow in those circumstances. You have the power to take a maternity leave if you truly, truly want to by planning ahead, finding ways to save now, and saving up money to be able to enjoy that time off with your sweet baby. So if you enjoyed this video and want to stay tuned for more budgeting and baby related videos, definitely subscribe to my channel and also check out this playlist of budgeting videos, and I'll see you over there.